Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Summer School, Session 2. Man, are we going to have an action-packed day today? Today's one of them days where we're going to talk about, being, having potential for yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, and building teams. But I'm here with the one and only expert. Brian Limas is in the house. He's a badass working genius. I mean, he has his own company called Paid to Breathe and so much more from Texas. Am I right? The one and only
Yeah.
Brian Limas.
Thank you, Shark, for having me on here today, man. This is exciting to be able to talk about the what I'm very, very passionate about, and that's getting people paid to breathe. And one of the main ones that I'll talk about how we do that is through the 6 types of working genius.
Dude, there's so much stuff. I mean, I learned so much from you in the last couple of weeks about myself and everything else. And one thing I will say, Brian, what we're going to talk about today is bringing full potential out for everybody. There's so much more to make everybody shine. And we're going to just present that today. Plus, we're going to have results about who the shark is, really. Boy, I can't wait for this, man.
Absolutely, and everybody will be able to peek into the brain of how the shark's productivity works. So, what are his blind spots, and what are his actual unique geniuses that makes the shark the genius?
Oh, man, good stuff. But real quick, Brian, give everybody like the 2-minute tour. I always do this of yourself, who you are. I know you work with Fortune 500 companies like Samsung and everything else, but hear it from you, buddy. It's all yours.
Yeah, no. So thank you, Shark, once again for having me on here. My name is Brian Limas, here from a little town called Lockhart, Texas, about 30 minutes south of Austin, the barbecue capital of Texas. The governor gave us that name, so it's not anything we coined ourselves. But that's just a little bit about me growing up here in Texas. But the reality is I started my career off with Samsung and being able to be a performance coach there with the staffing company, in-house staffing team. And so my main role was to be able to really go, how can I be able to work with 700 contractors collectively and be able to across 13 different departments and be able to make sure that they're at top tier performance, either coaching them in or coaching them out of the organization. And that's when I started realizing the genius of Patrick Lencioni's model of organizational health. And that is when I was like, people were just like, where is this dude getting this stuff? I'm like, yo, it's in the book. You got to read this stuff. It's amazing. And so from that, it was before Working Genius came out. But I realized the inherent nature and greatness in people, that we all have the potential to really do great things. And so we don't ever count anyone out. And so my retention rate skyrocketed, into levels that people had never seen before. And really, it was because of this organizational health model that I was deploying inside of it. A little bit of, Brian's little magic too, as well, being able to apply to that. But that's where I started to, the Working Genius finally came out. And I was one of the first wants to go through the certification, as it being kind of the newest and greatest model of Pat and the Table Group's model, but definitely helped me to launch and be more confident to, instead of doing it for the big guys, now I want to do it for the smaller guys, independent business owners, definitely entrepreneurs, and all of us are out there trying to, when we realize we can't do it by ourselves, how do we grow with others, and how do we do that and build not toxic workplaces but healthy workplaces, that it's where when we're all doing in our geniuses, it's like getting paid to breathe. So that's a little about me.
You got it, my man. And real quick is, burnout. Before we would jump into everything, everybody gets burnout sometimes. Even myself, man. I go to the gym, I'm sighing and stuff like that. Give us some tips, right? What you're seeing out there with people real quick about burnout and what you're doing. Like just a couple of quick tips about what's going on with the burnout, man. Because some people, they say, relax, for the weekend, put your cell phone away. What's your take on all this, man?
Yeah, so honestly, what's it called? Vacation away from Mondays, right? That's pretty much, they say, even like the statistic is that majority of heart attacks happen on Mondays, because people are so afraid of going back to the workplace because they're so burnt out, they're so just stressed and everything like that. And the reality is like, go and take a vacation. Those are band-aids, right? To really a huge gash that's happening where you're bleeding out all of your energy and everything like that, most likely because they have found themselves in a career where they thought they were probably really good. They had a competency in it, and they were just it was something that people told them they were good at, that they thought they'd be good at. Actually, they trained and learned a new skill set. But that's what we call the slow burn. And when you work in your competency, it's tricky because you get all the accolades. You could actually be one of the face of it. I mean, myself included. I've even worked on a presidential campaign, but I was supposed to be an actual campaign strategist and everything. That realized that was my competency, and no
Mhm.
wonder I would want to burn out. Like I was like, what? I thought I was supposed to be like the next Mexican president, man, the first Mexican president. You know?
Woo! I'll vote
Yeah.
for you, brother.
There you go. And but it was early in my career that I was like, oh, now when I went to working genius, that was my competency. So the thing is, the slow burn is all of a sudden out of nowhere, you're burnt out and you're like, I don't know what the heck happened. Now, when you work in your frustrations, we're going to talk about today, that's the immediate. Like if you know you're in a career where every day is like nails on a chalkboard, your personal living hell, it's because you're actually in your frustration. And so in your working frustration. And so that's why I said being able to really give some tips and tricks on that is being able to run as fast as you can to understand what your working genius is, because that is once again going to make your work more fulfilling. And it's, when people say, what is paid to breathe, it's like literally, if do you have to think about breathing? No, like it's
Mhm.
subconsciously competent, right? Like we're just like we just do it. And so when you're in your genius zone and you find that, burnout just literally vanishes like that in an instant.
I love it, man. And you know what's really, when going across the country and working with staffing firms, Brian, I got to tell you, recruiters, even managers and leaders, man. I mean, the stress level of, especially now with the economy and trying to find candidates and clients, there's always that where every day you're burnt out at the end. I see them just dragging and stuff like that. And what we're going to talk about today is some things that we can use to bring out the best in us. Seriously. I mean, there's so many good things on these traits that you taught me that actually is like, wow, I know my skills. I know a little bit of my weaknesses and how I can tweak that to be the best.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really excited to share that with everybody here, and for everybody to get a little taste of that.
So do we want to jump into this real quick here? These are the 6 types of working genius, man. Do you want to go through a little brief summary of each one, and then we'll deep dive into it about everything about myself and everybody else?
Absolutely, man. So the 6 type of working genius, what you really see, it spells out widget. It was actually coincidental. They didn't really mean for that to be there, and how it's even the shape there. So that's pretty funny how it went working out. But the 6 types are wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. And the really beautiful thing about that is that wonder gives the environment to create for invention. Invention creates the environment for it to really, which obviously coming out the great idea, the invention naturally. Then we have the idea that needs to be figured out: is this going to work? Or are we going to move forward? And discernment with a gut feeling lets you know if it's going to move forward or not. And enablement is then now you see the baton basically passes down each one, into which is all about productivity, 80% productivity, 20% personality. So, and just to finish it off real quick, galvanizing is the person that wants to, if you want to put that little image of the slick and what I've seen as I'm describing it real quick, so they pass the baton from discernment to galvanizing. And that's really when work gets activated. And we're now like, we know exactly the galvanizer is person who like knows how to get the right people on board, knows how to get the right team, everybody excited about it, kind of the whip, of the actual crew.
Yeah.
And definitely, being able to then pass it on to the person of enablement, who starts the process of implementation, who is literally be able to like really support a person who says enablement is literally the person that, and we love all the enablement people. They are the ones who are like, hey, I'm here to help you and support you no matter what you need, right? And ultimately, lastly, to get to tenacity, which is across the finish line, the 5-foot view. And that's the 6 types of working genius in whatever a minute that was.
Dude, I love that. And you know what's funny is, till we take the assessment, we have really no clue who we are, pretty much at the end of the day, what our skill sets are. I mean, I did not know that either. And some of the things about working genius, real quick, that I love is, with all this, man, I mean, maximize joy and fulfillment. I mean, I just got to talk about that real quick. I mean, the joy and fulfillment, just give me a little brief before we deep dive into my assessment, is like, I mean, I think every day should have joy and fulfillment. It has to 24/7 when you go to bed. How do you achieve that? And what do you see? How do you actually go in and talk to companies or individual people? How do they get fulfillment? I know you have to embrace it, but how do you teach them or coach them to do that?
Well, first off, Shark, you got to realize when you got to go to the pain first. So most likely, before I can get joy and fulfillment, I got to know what am I missing out on,
Yeah.
right? And the fact is that whenever like we're gonna tap into what your frustrations are, like it's when I say it's nails on a chalkboard, and it's literally you're living hell because not only is your frustration when you're working in your frustrations or your team if you have a blind spot in your team and you don't have somebody there to fulfill your stuff, well, what's going to happen? We all didn't get anywhere to be successful because it's pretty much, especially if you're a solopreneur, it's all you are all the six geniuses until someone else comes on board to help you fulfill that. So that's what I really coach everyone on, is basically run to fulfill your frustrations first, because then you're going to actually know what it feels like to be having that living and joyful, more enjoyment, more fulfilling work, because it's literally going to just literally take off the one things that you just really you've been told you suck at, you've been shamed for not doing right, everything like that, and literally the reality is that the workplace is not the nicest place. That's why we have toxic workplaces, right?
Mhm.
And so I think definitely whenever we start coaching people on knowing what their frustrations are first, it just like locks in like that, because they're just like, okay, now I got the game plan. I know exactly why I don't have to be hard on myself anymore. That's just how God created me. That's how I was made. And reality is that's how my productivity brain works. And so now I'm laser focused in knowing who's going to help me fulfill my blind spots, so then I can live that fulfilled and joy filled more life inside of my working genius.
Dude, I love it. And you know what? It's about the data. Because if a manager or leader just goes up and says, you suck, they're like, what do I suck at? And they just say one thing. But you're bringing that data and what, they're doing this test. So, you're just basing it on this and saying how you can tweak them and make them a hot rod. I mean, seriously, a lot of people, I
Absolutely.
don't think the managers don't understand that. And leaders, they just like say, well, you're not good at this and this. But have they done any assessments with that person to see why?
Right, right. And if we were all created in the image of God, then how else could we not all have geniuses like God, right? Like, how would He not put that inside of our brains in the ways that we are productively being able to bring literally our greatness to the table? So I'm really excited. Yeah, once again, when people really discover the geniuses, because it's that aha moment, just like we're about to do right now with you.
Look at. I'm just going to say this. Everybody's a G thing. There we go. That's my
Yeah,
slogan now.
that's
All right,
right.
my man. So it's time. So let's deep dive into this, man. I'm ready for it. Give it to me.
Awesome. Let's see here. I'm gonna pull this up here real quick, and we'll just push present.
So there's nothing good or bad about this. At the end of the day, this is just an assessment on me, right? So if there's some bad things or something that I'm not fulfilling, don't take it to heart, right? This is stuff we
Yeah,
work on or tweak. All right.
absolutely, absolutely.
Don't
So
get the shark upset here. No, I'm just joking.
no worries. So this is definitely what your report looks like, prepared by yours truly, right? And so definitely it gives you an explanation of all this of all the geniuses here, and when you do get your results. And so when your results, like, it comes out like this, where it has in the green, yellow, red. Which, what does that look like? A stoplight, right? So
Mhm.
when you look in your, or we have here for your genius shark, it's discernment and invention. So you're naturally gifted in being able to use your intuition and instincts to evaluate the ideas or plans, right? So with the gut feeling, how many times, Shrek, if someone comes up to you and says, "Yo, here's an idea," and with your gut, you're like, I don't know about that, but honestly, if you tweak this might be, I mean, it's going to be good to go.
100% right on that, man. That's how I am.
And then with the invention, naturally gifted to come up with ideas and creating original novel ideas. Like, literally, you are being able to just, I mean, yeah, do you love to be a mad scientist, creating new ideas all the time?
All the time.
Yeah, man. And the thing is that when we're talking about this, notice we start on the genius first, but I'm kind of breaking my own rule of not going to the frustration. But I really love for people to see the joy that, if you all saw how the shark just lit up right now, like, I mean, and literally when you find something that you're passionate about, the combination of invention, discernment, it's literally creating up with ideas and being able to evaluate them and be able to consult people. This is a pretty much what I say a natural pairing for a consultant, and someone who would be able to come up with maybe new podcasts every week with new ideas, be able to share them with people to see how it would work for you, and to discern if this is really one of the best content for the staffing world. So, Shark, you are literally in the best place possible of being able to have your own your platform here, and being able to go and share and talk and share the joy of really new ideas when it comes into the staffing and recruitment world. Does that sound about right?
I love to hear that, man. It's making my heart like just pound right now. Thank you, man, for that.
That's awesome, man. So now it gets real, right? We're gonna talk about the frustrations here, a little bit of pain. And basically when it comes to it, your frustrations are tenacity and wonder. So what does that mean? Remember, wonder is the W, it's the very first one. So that's like our 50,000 foot view. So usually it means your blind spot is going to want to be into where, how can, am I aware of the marketplace and how, being able from, pondering like a greater potential and like an opportunity in a given situation. So like being able to see like, have we ever thought about doing this or have we ever thought about doing that? And the thing is that it's a frustration if it's your full-time thing. If you were you're tasked with like your full-time job to basically say that I need to be the one forecasting for the staffing and recruitment industry, what are the insights and things out there, the ether? Would that feel like your dream job?
Of course. Well, at times, but no, to be honest with you, man, you know me, I like to do a million different things at one time. So it's like,
right.
I can't be boxed in. That's why I'm got my own company.
There you go.
I just can't be boxed in.
That like to be boxed in, because once again, if like that's the whole point, is like your frustration is if you're having to be focused around this 24/7 and literally it's like, yeah, I would do it to be successful because that's what you are successful, right? So that's the thing is that, and then with tenacity, we have the 5-foot view, which is literally just dotting the I's, crossing the T's. If wonder is the 50,000 foot view, tenacity is a 5-foot view, right? And so that is where would naturally being able to look like people who are just literally keeping on track with a project, a task, and being able to get things across the finish line. Have you ever struggled with getting things across the finish line, or like this is like your bane of your existence?
Not, to be honest with you, not really. Everything I do, I try to complete. So that's one thing about me. It might take a little bit more time. Getting back to the other one, that's why when I worked for companies, I was frustrated because I'd have had an idea and they were like, no, you can't do this. And it was just like one thing all the time. And I've never been, and be honest with you, the whole time, after you do homework for one subject, you want to bounce to the next one. I'm not one of the kind of people who can just sit on one project for like a year. It bores me.
For sure. And I'll tell you, so what's funny about this, Shark, is that we actually have similar frustrations, but I can share that frustration tenacity with myself. And so what does that seem like for me is like, it ever since I became aware of this, it was like I always would put myself down because it doesn't matter. I can get a project to like 99% complete, but it's like for some reason that 1% to get over the finish line, it is like nails on a chalkboard for me. And I'm like, I just hate finishing things. And the reality is that there are people who love to finish things. There are people with this genius who like on my team right now. Like I literally have an enablement tenacity, my homeboy June. And literally, man, it's just like he loves everything that I hate to do. And like are pretty much my blind spots. And so that's when it really starts when you start seeing it, it's like it's okay if I can have the conversation and admit to myself, like, I just hate to do this. But then the next thing is like, there's someone who loves this, right? One man's junk's another man's treasure, right?
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So that's definitely when we talked about burnout real quick was when people are working in this competency, man. So galvanizing is what we call your working third, and being able to say that you're the natural person, like going and get outgoing person and getting people, everything like that. The thing is you're naturally good at that. But if you're to stay in that where like it's your job like 24/7 to do that over and over again, where you have to go and get the right people, do stuff like that, you can do it and do it amazingly well. It just means just be aware in the long term that could be the slow burn for you.
Oh man, I never thought that. I always said I can run 24/7 all the time. So I see where that's coming from, man. It can actually hit like rock bottom sometimes, when you're just trying to get the perfect people over and over again.
Right. So yeah, man. So like that's a bit of our working genius, being able to share your assessment results here, and whatnot. And what would you say when you've heard that now? You heard it in the capacity of, I think the first time we talked was in a team, but now that you've heard it with yourself, what are your thoughts there?
You know what? It's when you see that, it actually makes you want to go harder with the stuff that you said was positive and the stuff that you see that I'm doing all the time. But then the couple ones that I got to like tweak, or bring a teammate in or somebody else to do that part. That's where I really want to focus on to be better in them parts that you just told me.
Absolutely, because you're a winner, man. Like we're like once again for winners, when they see this, they don't see it as failure; they see it as feedback, right?
Oh,
And and and
100%,
and
man.
yeah, and so that's exactly what you're saying right here. Is the working genius is designed for those who are hungry, who are hungry to be able to if they realize, hey, the great news, the problem is me. I can change me. I can't change anyone else, though.
Right here. Accountability, man.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing, Brian, when it comes down to all this is holding yourself accountable, because I think even in staffing, recruiting, or any industry, that blame game is big.
Absolutely, man. And I just, some stories from my Samsung days. When it was coming down to it, we were managing. We collectively as a team, in-house team, managing 700 contractors. In-house, which across 30 different departments. People were like, I tell people that, and I'm just like, because I was just in it. I was like, boom. I was
Yeah.
just gonna like be a problem solver and like be able to be, all these things. But I knew my part and knew it well. And retention was how we got paid, right? By people staying in the seats. But there are some people who are definitely like even my counterpart was like hell bent on wanting to fire people because that was like the status quo of like, hey, it's manufacturing 12-hour shifts a day, everything like that. And you know what? If you don't match up to what my perception is of how you should be performing, then you got to go. But I was like, hold on, you got to reverse that, man. I was like, if I'm not showing up to be able to say, when you come into my office and knowing at least a few tidbits of why the SOP that they broke and why they're in trouble, one, they can't get out of they can't just BS you, right? They can't just do anything like that, but they show that you know their job, not better than them, but enough to where you know how to coach them, right? And so when we start becoming the person that is allowing them inside the culture to where we don't allow ourselves to be part of the blame game, then naturally everyone else is gonna start. It just starts snowballing up, man.
Oh, man. So this working genius, so everybody does an individual test, and then you sit down with them or somebody else and explain it just like you did me. And then that's when you start building a plan of attack to make them better. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, absolutely. A coaching session that we have available is, well, people can do individual profile debriefs with me. And so you'll get a one-on-one personalized coaching session with that. If you're a team or a business that wants to be able to do this for your whole team, we can do those in an offsite where, we do 6 to 8 and we'll actually be able to debrief. You're going to get the insights to your exact team, exactly that, not only your blind spots and your frustration, but your whole team's unlocking that hidden data that you were saying is there for them to take action on, and then basically we can also have an option where we can literally customize this and create your own genius-based blueprint for your actual team to really put this into action.
So leaders and managers take this test too. Correct me or not, they got to take it, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, and
Leaders and
actually,
managers, because sometimes
yeah.
they just say employees take it. I've seen this before. I was the companies, and they never take it, and then they come in and they do the assessment, and tells us basically what you're doing, and then I'm thinking, well, what about yours? Now I'm thinking back, like, you should have had one too.
Absolutely, and I think like we were talking about before, I love Simon Sinek's approach. Like, leaders eat last,
Yeah.
and this whole approach of where I need to be able to make sure my people are taken care of. But I think the caveat to that is I need to make sure I know what's going on with me, because the way I show up to work, attitude reflects leadership. And so if I think I have all these problems here, you got to look yourself in the mirror and see who's showing up inside of that, to be able to really diagnose what's happening here. Because I'll tell you straight up, if I have to show up to an offsite or it's something that could have been an easy conversation, you're going to wind up getting the same thing, bro. You got to look in the mirror, sis. You got to look in the mirror,
Dude,
you know.
you summed that up, man. Look at them every day and say, call yourself out. I call myself out all the time in the gym. It's funny, Brian, real quick. The gym, Arnold Schwarzenegger said this the best. The mirror is not for you gloating. The mirror is to see what you can work on and define yourself.
I love that, man.
And that's what it's about, man. When I go to the gym, it's about what part do I work on for my body. And then, and you're the side with the business. I think, you need the body and the business to work together, man.
Exactly. No, and like you mentioned body, like I'm on this new meal program to basically get my
Yeah.
body to match into the working genius badass here. You got to have both, man. So I'm excited to be looking in the mirror and looking for different things too. And but I think optimizing that the human performance, like I said, this is one of the greatest tools out right now to be able to do that. And so, like I said, I just launched my newsletter on LinkedIn, Paid to Breathe. And it's free, so people can go and subscribe to that as well. And I'm just really excited to just start sharing these little tidbits, these nuggets, daily nuggets you get in your inbox, about working genius and how to get paid to breathe.
I love it, man. And real quick before we wrap out of here, the retention part, say goodbye to retention, hello to retention. I mean, that's the thing we had to talk about is how do you retain talent? And that could be the candidate or the client or the manager or the leader. So do you have a couple tips you can give us real quick before we get out of here, man?
Absolutely. So one of the main tips that I would say is making sure, from a client perspective, they're actually saying they have the same goal as you, right? Of how do we keep people in the seats? Because outside of it though, but you have more incentive for that headcount. So I would say it's about the KPI, right? Key performance indicator that you wind up saying, what does success look like? So for Samsung, that was like a check-in, 30-day check-in, 60-day check-in, 90-day check-in, making sure you can do those detailed reports to let them know how are they doing in their business. One of the biggest thing is, though, imagine if you develop a KPI around someone's working genius. The data that you would have there would be like more phenomenal to any of your clients there. It would hold your retention contracts like nobody's business. It would be able to, and then also too with your actual talent, the fact that you're taking the time to be able to let them know how to get them paid to breathe, how to make their work more fulfilling, and maybe hey, this is not the right position for you, but we have this other opportunity for you, right? It's actually fit. It's a game changer, and retention all day.
Dude, it is 100%. I mean, I keep saying that over again, 100%, but it is, man. At the end of the day, this retention is cost people money all the time, Brian. I mean, it's
100%.
over and over. Real quick, before we get out of here, one more thing I got to say, man, because I could go on and on about this. Any stories you want to throw out there, a couple stories, maybe a one-on-one recruiter or a business owner that you had success with in the last couple months, or somebody you want to just throw out a couple stories for us?
Yeah, man. Honestly, I would love to talk about my buddy James Pemberton as well, and also one of the clients with Bill Don't Beg. He was just on last week, right?
Yeah.
And he's actually been a client of mine as well in being able to restructure his whole thing, and his mind has been blown completely, because actually some of the nuggets I even took from today was like quotes from him. He's like, now that I realized that certain things were on me because I was just misusing the geniuses. I didn't know what my geniuses were, or just knowing them, but then being able to have that personalized coaching, literally be able to see that of why, honestly, it cost him close to $300,000. In losing and literally hiring, rehiring, hiring, rehiring, and that's on a small, like, definitely with a startup, with his coaching business. But imagine that you start scaling out for bigger contracts.
Oh my,
right?
you're in millions, man.
Millions, exactly. So I think he said, if I had this literally, and when I first started my business, I would have not been out that 300,000. I would have made 3 million, right? So I mean, literally, it's I mean, to me, it just makes me, I'm really happy to produce results and for my clients as well. But I'm even happy for the ones who maybe were ready to throw in the towel, ready to give up on burnout, and saying that this model doesn't work, but realizing that it was just me that needed to re-optimize my brain in the way that I see productivity, and be able to build my dream team around my geniuses and my frustrations.
Dude, there it is. Discover your gifts, transform your team. You know what? Tom Brady sums it up. I mean, I always say I love Tom Brady, man. One of my favorite football players. Dude, you know what? Didn't have the talent, but he had the gift to learn and be the best he could be. And look at him. What happened? The best quarterback ever.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
Dude, I love this stuff, man. Seriously, we got to go on. And next time when we have you on, man, we're going to have a session on team building and how you can do the testing with the whole team and plugging and playing and actually make it a Super Bowl team is what I'm going to say in the business world.
Yep. Absolutely. Super Bowl team. I've coined your Avengers, right? Whatever your SEAL Team 6, as James like to say. What's my SEAL Team 6? So like, I mean, yeah, that this literally will create that dream team, high performance people that are what you've always needed, what you've always desired.
You got it, Brian. Before we get out of here, man, I just want to give a shout out. If you guys get a chance, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, man. It's all about staffing influencers. If there's anybody you want to have on the show, let us know. It's summer school time now, so we're having people like, Brian on here, educating us, man, making us be the best we can be at all given times.
Absolutely.
Hey, Brian, any final shout outs, buddy, you want to give out before we get out of here, man?
Like I said, once again, thank you for having me on the podcast today, man. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And like I said, if people want to hear more about Working Genius and some gold nuggets in between when I come back on the show, subscribe, Pay to Breathe newsletter on LinkedIn, totally free. And excited to see you on the next call.
Dude, I love that, what you said, man. And the assessment, I was kind of scared, Brian. I'm going to lie, man. Before you pulled that up, man, I'm thinking, man, what's he going to say? He's going to say, Shark, man, you totally suck all the way around. I'm thinking, what?
No, man, no.
Oh, man.
All this is just to dive in for a little bit. It's a little bit of pain, just like, when you got to get something cut out from the body, right? Or the bone didn't break. The bone didn't heal right. So what do they got to do? They got to break it again. And it's, it can be painful, but, it's worth it because it's finally going to heal right.
You got it, man. Well, you know what? The session... School's over, brother. Till next time. Hey, Brian, thank you so much again, man. We'll see you next week on another summer school session. Take care, guys.
See ya.